Hello, cheapskaters. Just move you back a bit because otherwise I scare myself, let alone you. I'm Kath Armstrong, creator of the Cheapskates Club, where our goal is to live life debt-free, cashed up and laughing. If this is your first time visiting our channel, welcome. And if it's not, welcome back. Wow, let me just click up here because I was checking just a minute ago and there were lots of chats going on. If you would like to join the live chat tonight, you are very welcome to, but you do need to be signed into your YouTube channel or your Gmail account. And that's a YouTube thing, not a Kath thing. So hello, Barb. Hello, Kerry. Glad your husband is able to get back to work. Sorry about your tooth, Barb. Nothing like a toothache. Hello, Delaney. Yvonne, two Yvonnes. Dine at Frugal with Danny. I love that. Oh, welcome. It's your first time live. Welcome. Jenny, Mrs. Dillagaff, Selena, Trina, Evelyn, lost Catherine, Krista, catnaps. Got me. I love that. I just love that catnaps because I like catnaps too. Well, I hope you've all had a wonderful week. It has been a very busy week here. Lots done. Not that you would know it if you looked around, but lots has been accomplished. So we'll just give you a couple of minutes for everybody to get in. Here they come now. Leonie, Sylvia, Amy, Glennis, Vanessa. Okay, so everyone's rolling in, which is really good. Sometimes I wonder if I click that go live too soon or maybe it's a time difference. I'm going to talk about food security tonight. Wasn't what I had planned, but a couple of things happened over the weekend, and so I thought, we need to talk about food security. So that's what we're going to chat about. Now, just remember, thumbs up really helps our channel. Oh, look at that. Thumbs up really helps our channel. If you could possibly give us a thumbs up, that would be amazing. And if you're not subscribed, please click the subscribe button. Just means that we notify you every time we upload a new video or go live. It's up to you then whether you watch or not. Okay. Oh, look at that. Just noticed something new on the chat. Well, look at that. Okay. All righty. Well, I think we'll get started because I've got a lot to say. When haven't I got a lot to say? But I have a lot to say about food security. It's something that plays on my mind a lot, but over the weekend, it really started playing on my mind. So I thought, we need to chat about this. I want to talk about food security, not world food security, although that's something that we need to be aware of, or even Australia's food security. And again, that is something we should be very aware of and constantly monitoring. I want to talk to you about my food security, about your food security, about our personal food security and how we can safeguard it and what we can do to make sure that our families never go hungry. Now, you all know I am a big fan of a fully stocked pantry. I don't keep that a secret. I believe in keeping the pantry full so that, if the shell grit hits the fan, we can eat just as well as we do now for us for a full year. Now, the benefit of that is that the pantry can be stretched to feed us for at least another 6 months, quite likely another year. And that's because it's an ingredients-based pantry, not a meal-based pantry. Because remember, ingredients give you options. So you might be wondering why we need to focus on our personal food security. Because no one else is going to focus on it. No one else is going to focus on it. And yes, that might be blunt, and for some of you, it might be upsetting. But you know what's more upsetting? Knowing no one is going to feed you or your children and that you're going to be hungry. Now, I can't and I won't tell you how full your pantry should be. That's a personal decision. But if your pantry isn't full, if you can't live for at least a week, 7 days, without going to the shops or getting groceries delivered or having someone drop something off, then please, please think seriously about getting at least that much ahead in your pantry. Right now, there is talk on the interwebs of there being no food available in the USA after the 31st of July. Shelves will be empty, shops will be closing, warehouses will be closed. Now, that's only 5 days away. Now, I've been listening to this for a few weeks now. I'm thinking, I wonder what people are doing, you know. I wonder if they're actually building their pantries, or has it caused panic? It doesn't seem to have caused any panic yet. But you know what? Day before, be like, the day before Christmas Eve, shops shut at 5. Everyone waits till 4 to do their shopping. It's going to be the same thing. Now, I don't know whether that will happen. I cannot see there being no food on the 31st of July. But the general talk amongst bloggers and YouTubers who look to prepping or world events or the economy is that 2023 is going to be a year of worldwide famine. No country will be spared. Now, do I believe them? Yes and no. I can see some of what they're saying happening, but I can also see that some of the talk is just that, talk. It's, what do they call it? Clickbait, to get people to come to their channels, and and it's talk without anything substantial, without any facts to actually back it up. But either way, 2023 is not going to be an easy year anywhere. Now, at the very least for us in Australia, rising interest rates, and the Reserve Bank has said that they could go up another 2%, for mortgage interest rates could go up another 2% before the end of this year. Then we've had 2 years or 2.5 years of terrible floods. Before that, we had drought, the pandemics. And yes, I said pandemics, plural, because, well, read between the lines, folks. I'm pretty sure that there's about to be another one burst on us, lumped on us, dumped on us. With the war in the Ukraine, the extremely hot weather in the northern hemisphere with fires, the drought and the fires in the USA. Now we've got the foot and mouth disease threat to our cattle industry. All those things just point to 2023 being a bit of a difficult year. And that's if you're debt and mortgage free. If you have an emergency fund, if you've got a fully stocked pantry, it'll be a bit of a difficult year. If you've got a job, it'll be a bit of a difficult year. If you're in debt, you don't have an emergency fund, your pantry's empty and your job's up in the air, then it's going to be a really tough year. So what can you do about food security for your family? Because for me, knowing that I can feed my family, that's my security blanket. My pantry is my security blanket. It means that we eat. And if you've got a full tummy, you're not hungry, then you've got the energy to work, but you're also much more content. You're not as stressed. And me, as the wife, mother, chief cook and bottle washer in this house, for me, my job is making sure we have food security. it takes a lot of stress off me. It takes a whole lot of stress off me. I can cope with other things if I know that we can eat, the house will stay clean, we will stay clean. So, even though it's a tough year, and this year's pretty tough too, 2023 is going to be tougher, I need to say to you, first off, don't stop stockpiling. Don't stop building your pantry, and don't run your pantry down. Now, I know prices are rising, and someone said to me, oh, well, they'll come back down. And I sort of almost wanted to pinch them to make them wake up, because history shows those prices are not going to come down. Now, they may stabilize for a little while. They might stay stable for a few months, maybe a year, but they're not going to come down. And while they stabilize, that happens so that we accept that those inflated prices are then the normal price. And then they'll go up again. They're not going to come down, guys. Even with the grocery wars, the grocery store wars, the supermarket wars, prices are not going to come down too much. Now, I mentioned last week or the week before, milk going up to $4.50 for 3 litres. That's a big jump for a family. It's not going to come down. And we know meat is very expensive. It might drop, it might stabilize and even out for a little while, but it will go up again. We might, if we are lucky, find the odd really good deal occasionally when it's really what we would now think cheap and we can stock up, but it's never going to go back to 2020 prices. It's never going to go back to 2019 prices. It's just not. So don't stop filling your pantry. Add to it each week. Look, even if it's just a tin of corn or a tin of baked beans or an extra kilo of flour or a box of wheat bix or a carton of UHT milk, add to your pantry. If that's all you can do this week, do it. And then repeat next week with something different. Keep adding to your pantry. Keep building it. One of the main things that prompted me to change my routine and talk about this tonight was a couple of questions that came in emails over the weekend. But yesterday I'm surrounded by Aldis. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 within, like 5 minutes of home. So I called into the biggest Aldi yesterday. So it was on my way past from where I'd been. And that shop was bare. They had 3 leeks. They had no apples. They had no potato. No apples. No potatoes. Some bananas. 3 leeks. Not many tomatoes, but they were very expensive. No lettuce. That's expensive too. They had some bagged salads and some of those deli salads in the container. There was no blocks of cheese. The meat wasn't too bad, but again, even Aldi meat's getting expensive. What else wasn't there? Something else that there wasn't anything of. Frozen vegetables, that's what. I went down the aisle because I wanted to pick up a bag of peas. There were none. But not only were there no peas, there were no frozen vegetables, full stop. Absolutely none. That whole big freezer that normally has the peas, corn and carrots and the winter veggies and the corn cobs and the broccoli and all that sort of stuff was empty. I did ask, are you cleaning it out or something? And she went, oh, no, we haven't had a delivery for a week or so. A week or so. They've been out of frozen veg. Now, I know I've talked about empty spots on supermarket shelves, because our Coles has been empty for a while, but I put a lot of that down to the fact that it is being renovated. Although the last couple of weeks they've sort of got getting everything back on the shelves, and there was the last week there was no toilet paper. Why is there no toilet paper? There was no toilet paper in Aldi, and someone else mentioned that they couldn't get toilet paper. I was talking to Hannah this afternoon. She couldn't get frozen veg at her Aldi either. And she couldn't get what she wanted, whatever she wanted, cauliflower, I think, at Woolworths. So she got a marked down packet of fresh little cauliflower bits. The shortages are there and they're happening. Now, there's reasons for it. Obviously, there's going to be reasons for it. There has to be. It can't just be that they don't want to sell it anymore, because that's not going to work. But how long they're going to last, how much deeper they're going to get within the supermarket stocks, we don't know. It was actually, that's the worst in the 2.5 years this has been going on. That's the worst I've seen any supermarket. It looked like it had been stripped bare. I was able to get the milk I needed. I went in for milk, and it's only $4.49 at Aldi, save a cent. I went in for milk. I wanted the frozen peas, so I got milk. Amy says she's had issues with toilet paper. Well, Coles was out last week, Amy, and Aldi was out yesterday. Selena says Woolies have put a buy limit on tissues. What is the issue with it? Now, it used to be that toilet paper and tissues and paper towel were made here in Australia. I don't know if that's still the case. I would need to do some research into that. But that all used to be made here. So, all right, now. Okay, who was that? Delaney went to Aldi on the weekend and they only had 6 or 7 bags of frozen chips, no frozen veg. Okay, now, frozen veg is a pantry stockpile. It's a basic pantry item. Frozen peas, frozen beans, peas, corn, carrot mix, or corn cobs. They are pantry basics. And there should not be a shortage of those in our supermarkets yet. There will be, because a lot of those crops were destroyed earlier this year, and the replantings were then destroyed too in the floods. So that will affect not only our fresh produce, but it does go on to affect our frozen produce. But yeah, I don't know. I'm going to do some investigating because it's really annoying. And we don't like tinned peas. We don't like tinned peas. Here we go. Anyway, so add every day, add every week. Every time you go to the shops with your shopping list, try to add something extra to your pantry. Look for sales. They keep saying that. I listened to managing director of Woolworths yesterday, managing director, CFO, one of the big wigs, and he was saying how they have 4,000 to 5,000 items on sale every week at Woolworths. So you never have to pay full price, except that Freddo Frogs and Snakes are really nice to have, but they aren't pantry items. I would much rather see the flour on sale, the butter on sale, the eggs on sale. I was checking prices on eggs today. At Coles, organic, they say they're organic eggs, $11 a dozen. That's almost $1 each for an egg. Just ridiculous prices. They should be on sale. Pasta comes on sale occasionally, rice comes on sale occasionally, but our dried fruits, the nuts, basic pantry items, not so often. So look really hard for the sales and take advantage of them when you find them. Hannah was able to get me Philadelphia cream cheese last week. It was from NQR, which is a clearance grocer here in Victoria. And there were 6 blocks for $10 with a 2023 expiry. That will see us through. That was plenty. She got me 12 blocks. So we're set now for a good 8-9 months maybe for our cream cheese. Thank goodness, because otherwise I wouldn't be buying it. Rethink your shopping list. Now, if you subscribe to my weekly newsletter, in this week's $300 a month food challenge section, I've written about how changing just one thing on your shopping list can free up a lot of money each year. Just by, you're not missing out on it, you're still getting it, you're just buying it differently. If you're not subscribed to the newsletter, let me have a drink of water. If you're not subscribed to the newsletter, it's free. There's a link underneath me. It goes out every Thursday morning around 11 a.m. and it has done weekly for coming up 21 years. All I can say is just remember to click the confirmation after you've subscribed so I can send it to you. And that is an international spam law requirement, not a me being difficult to get on with. But look at what you're putting in your trolley this week and think about how you use it. And then think about how you buy it too. Does it make more than one recipe? Is it an ingredient or is it a one-off meal packet thing? Is there a way you can buy it cheaper? If there is, that frees up a lot of money in your grocery budget. And that means that you've got more so you can fill your pantry without actually going over budget. And that's our aim. We want to live life debt-free, cashed up. We don't want to live life debt-free, but having to increase the grocery budget. Then look at your meal plan. When you dish up each night, is there food left over? If there is, do you have a use for it? Does it become a lunch or another dinner? If you put it away for another meal, write those meals into your meal plan. Make Friday night or Sunday night or whatever night you're really busy a freezer meal night. Write it into the meal plan. If kids have basketball on Tuesday and you don't get home till 8 o'clock, make Tuesday night freezer meal night. It's really good to save them because you're not wasting the food unless you don't use it. It's wasted money and wasted food if you just fill the freezer with little containers full of leftover meals. You have to use them up. If you have leftovers and don't use them, have a look at your recipes that you're making. Cut back on the quantity so that you only prepare exactly what you need. Now, I've cooked for 5 for so long that it's taking me, 12 months. Hannah's been gone 12 months. It's taken me that long to actually get into the habit of cooking for just 4. It's a hard thing to do. But we use the freezer meals. I put them in the freezer and they either become a lunch or a dinner, depending on what's happening in our lives at the time. So think about that as you're dishing up your meals, and remember your portion control too. That's another thing that will build your food security, because you're not using as much food. You're not, and that's not being mean. I'm not saying everyone has to be hungry, because, if you've got a 6'7" basketball and football playing child, they're going to be hungry and they're going to need a lot of food. They will need a lot of protein. They will need a lot of carbs. So don't starve them. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just saying, if you're like me and you spend most of your day, in the garden or vacuuming, mopping floors, washing, sitting at a desk, working, then you're not using as much energy. So you don't need as much energy in the form of food. You can watch your portion control. I would suggest that you try to stockpile high protein foods first, then other dry goods. So your high protein foods are, your legumes, your dried beans, your lentils. They store really well on the pantry shelf. They're on my forever foods list, and they're a high protein alternative to meat. Again, I'm not saying don't eat meat. I'm just saying beans and legumes on their own, if you throw in some rice, then you've got a complete protein. They store well and they're high protein. If you want to make your meat last longer, stretch it a bit, use half meat, half beans, or half lentils. That works too. It also saves you a little bit of money. I buy my beans and my lentils in 5 kilo lots from Hindustan Imports. You may find them cheaper somewhere near you, but I found 5 kilos of red beans, kidney beans, cannellini beans, borlotti beans. I've got 5 different types of beans, and I have red and green lentils, orange and green lentils, red and green lentils. So 5 kilos of each of those is enough for us for a year. And they keep well. They last on the pantry, and it doesn't take up that much room. Everyone goes, oh, where do you keep it? Well, it just sits in a canister on the shelf. If you've got these high protein foods in your pantry, it's easy to make a meal. And, a little serve, it provides a good whack of the nutrients that you need. The next thing I'd look at adding to in your pantry is flours. Now, flour does have a shelf life. It can go a bit sour over time. And if you buy self-raising flour, it will lose its ability to rise. After about 18 months, 2 years, it starts to degrade. Just add a little extra baking powder to it. That's all I do. So you can keep plain flour, and then you can keep baking powder, or you can keep the ingredients to moo it, and that will solve the problem. I vacuum seal the flour in 2 kilo lots, and then I freeze it. And it just sits in the freezer until I need the freezer space. Tinned tomatoes are always handy. Even tinned tomatoes are good nutritional value. And they're versatile. You can whiz them to make a soup. You can use them to make a sauce. They make a great gravy. They can make a soup. I've said soup, haven't I? So dried fruits are the other thing I was thinking about. And they last just about forever too, but they can become a bit candied. Again, for long term, freeze them. Just pop them in the freezer. The only issue I have with freezing, and some of you know that I'm trying to get away from it, is if the power's to go out for any length of time, then there's a pretty good chance that, if it's a freezer full of meat and vegetables and fruits, it's going to be lost. So make sure your insurance will cover the contents of your freezer. Now, one of our members, Carol, keeps a very detailed inventory on her freezer, and she has what's in it and the quantities, and she also has the prices she paid. And it did work really well for her a couple of years ago when they lost power for 5 days due to bushfires. And of course, she lost her freezer. But because she had her inventory, she had the exact amounts that were in the freezer, and she had what it had cost, she was able to get every cent back from their insurance. And they were quite amazed that she was that pedantic about keeping the inventory. So if you've ever wondered if your freezer inventory is worth it, yes, it is. The other thing you can do is make sure you compost all your veggie peelings and scraps. And you're going to go, well, what has that got to do with food security? It will help you, trust me, with food security. The peelings that you're not going to turn into stock or juice, compost to make your own fertilizer. It will revitalize your garden each season. Easy way to do it is to just dig it in. I've got a little bucket that lives on the bench, and I just put the peelings in each day, and then the next morning I go out and all I do is dig a little hole in the garden, bury it, cover it over, bring it back in and start again. I compost in place. Wayne has the big compost heap where he puts the lawn clippings and the tree prunings and all that sort of thing, and I dig my little holes all through the garden. Seems to work fine. Doesn't take them very long to compost down. Now, another thing about that is growing what you eat is a pretty safe way, or a fairly what's the word I'm looking for? It's gone out of my head. Growing what you eat, it ensures that you have at least some food security. Really important that happens, because otherwise, if you don't grow what you eat, there's going to be a chance that you can't buy vegetables. We can't get frozen vegetables at the moment. So, growing what you eat means you'll at least have something. Now, I know, let me find my notes. Where is it? I had some figures for you because I was working. Can't find them. I was working out some costings, and I was working on lettuce because lettuce seems to be the vegetable of the moment. And the packet of seeds. Now, lettuce in Coles this week, $5.99 each, just for a little head of iceberg. Nothing fancy, just good old iceberg, $5.99. Now, that's actually a pretty normal winter price. It's not an extreme price. That's pretty normal winter price. Lettuce is out of season here, so we need to expect to pay more for it. It might, if you're in the north of Australia, then it should be in season and not quite so expensive. But lettuce here isn't in season. It's $5.99, but it grows in my garden all year round. Now, it does slow down in winter. I'll give you that. It slows down. And that's fine because we don't have as many salads in winter. But what I worked out was the packet of seeds was $3.95. I checked and it had 120 seeds in it. Now, the germination rate was quite high on those. It was like 85% or something. Well, I direct sow into my gardens. I like to do that. I try to not transplant seedlings. So I put in 6 lettuce seeds and they came up and started growing. And in the next 2 weeks, I put in another 6 and so on. And I've just been picking the leaves off them each day. I've had some for my salad, or we've had salad with our tea tonight, just picking a few leaves off. So I got the idea that I'd need to work out how much the lettuce were costing, because I know there are going to be people out there who go, I'm not growing food, it's not worth it by the time you do this, and you've got to pay for this, and the seeds are so expensive and the seedlings are so expensive, and you've got to buy the fertilizer. Well, if you compost, you don't. There's going to be a whole lot of moaners and groaners that says growing their own food just won't work for them, and that's fine. That is fine. But I worked it out. The lettuce, all the lettuce I planted came up. So I haven't lost any. It's been 100% germination, which is pretty good. They all came up, and I did some quick calculations and I double checked it. So even adding in the cost of the water, if I was to water them, because I'm not watering at the moment, the ground is pretty sodden. We've had enough rain to keep the veggie beds quite wet. 6 cents each. So I can buy it for $5.99 or I can grow it for 6 cents. I know which one I'd choose to do. It works like that with all the veggies I grow. And I think my garden last summer wasn't so good, but not a lot of gardens were good last summer. We had really we didn't have a lot of really hot days. We didn't have a lot of very direct sunny days. It was quite a bizarre summer. And I know someone said it was really hot, but no, it wasn't. It wasn't that hot. We didn't get the 42, 43, 44 days that we have had the last few years. So it wasn't that hot. So my garden didn't produce as well, and it was a bit slow. But even so, you know, it was $2.99 a kilo for zucchini or 23 cents. It's a no-brainer. And when I grow my own food, I don't have to worry about whether it's going to be at the greengrocer or the market or the supermarket. It's just outside my back door. I have that food security. So even if I'm locked down, can't leave the house, I can go out the back door and get food. That's food security. That's what I want for my family. I hope you can see what I'm trying to say, because you don't need a big garden, but just grow something. Grow lettuce. Put in 2 tomato plants. Pots. You don't need a lot of ground. Grow bags. You don't need a big yard. There's ways to grow what you eat to give you food security. You know, if you can grow your own salad, or you can grow your own soup veggies, or you can grow your own casserole veggies, you won't need to buy them. And if you're not buying them, then that money is freed up in your grocery budget. And that's money you can use to build your pantry, to build your food security. I know and I understand that for some people, growing food seems like a waste of time, a waste of energy, waste of money. But honestly, you know, $5.99 for a lettuce, 6 cents for a lettuce, it's a no-brainer. It really is a no-brainer. And lettuce are really easy to grow. In fact, I've done a video that will be out over the weekend on how to grow lettuce because they are really easy to grow. And that means, while we're talking about that you need to add seeds to your food security list. They should be a part of your food security. You need seeds to grow what you eat. So make sure that you learn to seed save and that you've got a packet or two of what you eat as backups. If you grow what you eat, then you eat what you grow. It's a bit of a cliche, but it's true. The other thing you need to do is learn to store your food properly. You need to know what needs to be refrigerated, what goes in the pantry, what needs to be airtight, what needs to be kept in the dark. If you learn how long food keeps once it's opened, then you'll know how to store your food properly. Know what things have a chance of having weevils in them and need to be frozen before they go into the canisters or onto the pantry shelf. Understand the foods that need to be kept airtight. Understand the vegetables that shouldn't go in the fridge. Learn how long food keeps in your freezer. Learn how long it keeps in your freezer if it's vacuum sealed. All these things will stop food waste, but they will also add to your food security because you are building skills that mean that you know how to treat the food you have. Learn to cook. You can have all the ingredients in the world. Your pantry could be full to overflowing. Your garden could be producing an abundance of fruit and vegetables and berries, but if you don't know how to prepare it, well, it's wasted. You don't know what to do with it, it's wasted. Now, you don't need to be a fancy cook. In fact, I think it's better if you're not. Learn how to roast a chicken. There's instructions on our website if you don't. Learn how to bake veggies. Again, I've got step-by-step instructions on our website. It's not difficult to do. Learn how to make a simple cake. You know, my one bowl cake is so easy. It never fails, and the recipe's on the website. Then learn to preserve. Now, this is a big one. You know, preserving what you have. If you're going to grow a garden, then you'll need to know how to preserve the produce when it comes in. Now, the simplest method of preserving is freezing. Can't get much easier than that. Another simple method is dehydrating. Really easy. Can't get much easier than that. Then there's fermenting and pickling. They are both really simple, easy, and they create food that's not only lasts, but it's actually, has a lot of health benefits for you. Learn how to smoke meats. Now, you don't need fancy tools for that. You don't need a fancy smoker and whatever. I used an old electric fry pan and a couple of the metal Fowlers for cola lids for years to smoke meat. So you don't need anything fancy. If you've covered those, then you can move on to bottling fruit. You can move on to pressure canning veggies and meats and poultry and fish and beans and even soups and stews. You can do whole meals. All of these methods of preservation, they can be done in your very own kitchen. Absolutely done in your own kitchen if you know what you're doing. Now, we've got a preserving book in our ebook downloads that will get you started. Over the weekend, I had an email from Ali, and she wanted to know, she asked me, is it worth her buying a pressure canner? Look, honestly, I can't say yay or nay because I don't know her circumstances, but I hope I was able to help her make a decision. Because what I did was say, would you use it? There is a lot of work involved in pressure canning. It's not as simple as, dumping something into a jar, putting a lid on and bunging it in the pot. Although that's sort of the basics, it's not quite that simple. There is a lot of work involved in pressure canning. Now, it's a wonderful way of preserving food so they're shelf stable for your pantry. But the setup costs are expensive. The pressure canners are expensive. You've got to get your jars, your lids, and lids are an ongoing cost because they can only be used once for pressure canning. Then if you really love it, you want extra jars. Now, I love my pressure canner, absolutely do, and I use it a lot. I pressure can mince and chicken and potatoes and mushrooms and beans and soups and stews, and we eat them all. I can what we eat, and they give us food security. But if you're looking at something like that, it's a big investment. It's a lot of money. It would easily, you will easily spend $500 to get set up on pressure canning. I've been looking and looking because I would like a second canner. I've been looking and looking, hoping that they would start to appear on Marketplace, but they haven't quite yet. But I keep looking. And jars are really expensive if you can get them, if you can get new ones, and even the second-hand ones, the used jars are very expensive. So if you're thinking about something like that, or even a dehydrator, if you're thinking about something like that, do your research. Make sure that you will actually use it, that you will actually get your money's worth from it. And in the, especially with the pressure canner, try mince that's been canned. Try potatoes that have been canned. Try mushrooms, although they're a bit like tin mushrooms anyway, champignons. Try a stew that has been canned. Try the beans that have been canned. Find someone that cans and will let you sample what they've canned so that you know whether or not you will actually like it, because it does change the texture of the meat. My guys hate canned chicken. I have to be really careful how I use the canned chicken, the pressure canned chicken, because they loathe it. So it usually goes into a pie or something like that. It has to be, specific things because it changes the texture. So make sure you know before you invest in that you will actually use it and you will get your money's worth out of it. Now, I just want to make sure everyone knows that we're talking about food security. And while we're talking about it, I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that you rush out and spend a fortune stocking up on groceries. That's not what I'm about. That's not what we do. We fill our pantries with a plan. But I do want to stress that having just a small stockpile, if you have nothing, like I said, aim for a week, have a small stockpile of the basic groceries is a really good idea. You can build your pantry stockpile based on what you use regularly. It's how I write my shopping list. There's no point in having a dozen cans of tuna in the cupboard if you don't like it or you'll never use it. If it's, even if you were starving, you wouldn't eat it, don't get it. On the other hand, though, a dozen cans of baked beans will get used if you love them and use them in lots of recipes. And I add baked beans to all sorts of things because they are a great way to stretch mince-based meals. So we use a lot of baked beans every year. Think about what you use. Think about how you use it. And then as you do your shopping, add 1 or 2 extra items to the trolley to build that stockpile. If you're fortunate enough to have a slush fund, a grocery slush fund, use that to pay for them. Or, better still, leave 1 or 2 things that you don't really need. It might be the soft drink or the melting moments or the chips or the dips or the flavoured milk or cocoa pops, whatever. Leave them on the shelf and replace them with your stockpile items. And, all those things that you leave on the shelf, you can easily move. The soft drinks, the dips, the chips, the biscuits, the cakes, the muesli bars, the sweeties, the chocolates. They can all be easily moved with the ingredients that you have in your pantry, and that makes them cheaper and healthier than anything you buy at the supermarket. You don't need to go to extremes to build food security. You can do it bit by bit. Just work at it every day, and every time you go shopping, every time you go food shopping, make sure you're working to build your food security. Look, smart people only stockpile the things that they use regularly, and they only buy them when they're on sale. Once you have a full pantry, once you have a full stockpile, you've got wriggle room. You'll never have to pay full price for groceries again, even with inflation. And that will help you save money and help you stick to your grocery budget. It's really important to know that we don't go into debt to build a pantry. That's not what we do, and it's not what we want to do. We need to be able to build our food security within our budget, because we don't want to get into debt. Right now is not the time to be going into debt. It's the time to be working like crazy to pay down debt, not go into more debt. So now let me zip back over and check the, comments. Let me see what oh, they do this all the time, actually. Sorry, Amy. They flip up and down all the time. So everyone's talking stuff back on toilet paper. Sorry, guys. There we go. Frozen veg can be dehydrated. I keep some in the freezer and some dehydrated. I put them through the dehydrator, just as easy. Works really well. And last year I turned a lot of them into powder to make cream of vegetable soup, which worked really well. Probably got about that much left in the container. I wish ingredients would go on sale. Ingredients give us options. Maybe that's why they don't go on sale. We're not supposed to have options. We're supposed to just buy what they tell us to buy what they put on the shelves. Wow, shortage of eggs in Queensland. I don't think, well, there was an egg shortage here for a while. I don't know if it's still happening. New South Wales has got eggs limited to 2 cartons too. Yes, Barb, cup of tea. Certainly do have my cup of tea in my best Christmas present ever mug. Did I hear about the farmers 1 hour north of Sydney? The government is limiting their farm gate customers base to 50. Sure. No, but I'll look into it. We have friends who their kids, they have they're 9, 11, 13, something like that, grow watermelons and pumpkins every season, and they have a on their farm, at the gate of their farm, they've got a little store with an honesty box, and the kids look after the watermelons and the pumpkins and then harvest them and sell them, and the money is then split between them, and that's their spending money for the year. They don't get pocket money, they earn it. I'd rather buy from Farmgate than a supermarket. I'd rather buy from a farmer's market than a supermarket. I was talking to Karen this afternoon. We were talking about that. That's where I realised the eggs were $11 a dozen. And she was saying farmers markets are so expensive, but they're not actually that much more expensive, if any, than supermarkets are at the moment. Karen, look at buying tinned fruit, so your tinned peaches, tinned apricots, plums, whatever you're buying, 2 fruits, pears, whatever, and freezing that. That might actually be cheaper than your fresh fruit, and frozen tinned fruit is really nice. It's like ice blocks on a stick. All right, so they're imported. Creative Gourmet berries are the imported berries. Someone might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they are the imported berries. And yes, they have been on sale, but their sale price had gone up. It wasn't quite what it used to be. I went to the butcher last week. I went to Australian Butcher, our local butcher here, last week, and it was, I walked in and I had a look, and I had a good look all around, and I walked in. I did not buy a thing, not a thing. It was terribly, terribly expensive. All right, sorry guys, I'm still trying to catch up. The comments are going faster than me. The peelings and veggie fruit waste get converted into produce from the garden, and also eggs. Nothing goes to waste. Hi, Pat. I'm glad you could join us. If you have chickens, yeah, you don't have any waste at all. I don't have chickens yet. I keep saying yet because I keep looking to my right here. I keep thinking that'd be perfect chicken run. Just can't convince Wayne to find other spots for what he's got stored down there. But I do my compost in place. I dig the holes, tip stuff in. We have the worm farm. We have the bokashi bucket. Wayne has 2 compost heaps going. One is the new one that's starting. One is just finishing off its cooking. So we do a lot of composting and recycling of stuff like that. I like the bokashi because I can put anything into it. I like the worm farm because I love to collect the worm tea to make liquid fertilizer. I like the castings to dig into my pots. Not so much the beds, the soil in the beds, but the pots, because pots just seem to need more nutrients, don't they? So, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm still reading comments, gosh. Here we go. I'll give you scraps to someone else to compost. Love that idea. My neighbours bring in scraps and snails for my chooks. They also tip their lawn clippings and weeds in for the chooks to scratch into compost. Wonderful idea. Absolutely wonderful idea. On that note, guys, if you have neighbours with fruit trees and they don't use it, they just let it drop to the ground, knock on the door and ask them if you could have the fruit. And in return, you will give them lemon cordial or lemon butter or marmalade or whatever, plum jam or whatever it is, and share it with them. Don't let it rot on the ground. It breaks my heart, absolutely breaks my heart to see fruit dropping off trees and rotting on the ground. We have, I'm sure I've mentioned this before, when I go for a walk, there's a house a couple of streets around, and they actually have a peach tree on their nature strip. And every year he puts a sign out the front. It goes, peaches aren't ready yet, peaches aren't ready yet. Peaches are ready, free. Absolutely wonderful. So you can either pick one as you walk past, or you can stop and pick a few off his tree. The last couple of years, I've been able to get enough to make probably 10 or 12 jars of jam, peach jam, because nobody will take it. And the poor man doesn't want to waste the fruit. Hope they enjoyed it. Absolutely hope they enjoyed it, Kathleen. Everyone's picking greens every day. Karen's been supplying lettuce for Hazen next door. She's got 6 more planted, just planted up as spring seedlings. Something was eating. I did really good. I had a whole lot of cabbages, a whole lot of cauliflowers, a beetroot, parsnips, mini turnips, peas along the back. The garden was going great guns, looking really good. And I went out one morning and something had eaten the cauliflowers, not just nibbled at them, but eaten them down to the stalk was level with the dirt, with the soil. Okay, don't know what that is. And I don't put baits and things down because of Lacey dog. So I made sure the screens were in place again and put everything back. Went out the next morning. There were a couple more cauliflowers gone. I went, okay. So I was looking at it and trying to figure out what it was. All I can think is it's a possum. It's possum. Because we've got bush behind us. So it's possum. We often hear them running along the roof and the fence and whatever. So I thought and thought about it. And then I went, light bulb moment. I raced out to the shed. And we have little solar lights. They're motion sensor solar lights that we use when we're camping. And I put them out in the sun and I let them charge up. And then I propped them on the inside of the raised beds, sort of opposite the plants that hadn't been eaten yet. And I thought, I wonder if it'll work. Otherwise, the neighbours are going to think I'm nuts because, I'm out there charging lights and putting them inside, on the inside of the garden bed. Well, they sort of came on and off most of the night. Didn't hear anything, and I couldn't actually see anything from the house. Went out the next morning, nothing had been eaten. Nothing had been eaten. I went, yes, that's a win. So I charged them up again, put them in different spots this time, charged them up again, and so far it's working. I've lost 4 cauliflower, but nothing else has been nibbled. But boy, they must have enjoyed that feast because they were right down, like the stalks were level with the soil. Cheeky things. So if you have a marauding possum problem, try the little motion sensor lights. Now, they came from, we've had them a very long time, so it'll come from Anaconda or BCF or somewhere like that. Might have been hardware store or even Kmart. But they're just like little round lights, and they've got a magnet in the back so they stick, and a little solar thing at the top. They work really, really well to keep pests out of your garden. Okay. Selena, yeah, canning supplies are in very short supply here in Australia. The official word from Ball is later this year they will start sending back to Australia. But with the way the dollar is at the moment, it will be very, very expensive. So, yeah. Oh, Jane, I hope your father feels better soon. Oh, poor thing. All right, buy 5 cans a week from August until the end of the year. You'll have 100 cans of food on the shelf. Okay, so if you're going to do that, it's a simple way to build your stockpile. But don't forget to use it. It's not to sit on the shelf and look pretty. You need to use it. So you could buy 5 cans of corn this week, and 5 cans of peas next week, and 5 cans of carrots next week, and 5 cans of mushrooms a week, and whatever you need. But you need to use it. Don't just let it sit on the shelf and look pretty. Whatever you are putting into your pantry, use. Yes, you want to build it up. So you want to build it to six months. Once you've reached that 6 months, you will be able to maintain that by simply replacing what you use. So when you take something from the pantry, make a note of it, has to go in the shopping and replace it. And that way you will always have your 6 months of stockpile in your pantry. It is really important to use it so that it doesn't go stale, so that it doesn't go off, so that it doesn't, get out of date or whatever. So don't just build your pantry and have it sitting there looking pretty and pat yourself on the back going, oh, I've got 6 months worth of groceries. Use it. That's what it's meant to. You're meant to use your pantry. You're meant to use your stockpile, but you're also meant to replace it as you use it. And if you can do it like that, then that gives you the wriggle room to wait for the sale, to wait for the next catalogue to see if whatever you're replacing is on special, so that you don't ever pay full retail price. They should still cover your household contents. They won't cover the business items. That needs to be listed separately. It can go, well, depending on the company, it can go on the policy, but you need to list it separately. You need to check with your insurance company if you have a question about that. I saw the Super Value on the news last night. Super Value used to be a supermarket when I was a little girl. It was a bit like just a local little supermarket in strip shops, although then when I was a little girl, that's probably all we had. We didn't have big, ginormous, shopping centres like we have now. And I remember going to Super Value with my mum. I was interested that they said it was more wrong thing. Here we go. I was interested that they said it was more warehouse style shopping, but then when you looked at it, just looked like a regular IGA setup to me, because warehouse style shopping to me is you buy the tray. You don't buy one, you buy the tray. You buy the box or the half box. You remember Half Case Warehouse? They were around when I was a little girl too, and you had to buy the half the box at a time. That to me would make more sense. What I saw on the news didn't seem, it just seemed like a big IGA. I'd be interested to see. Krista's done the solar lights with possums too. Yeah, scared the little blighters. Well, it stopped them eating my garden anyway. My brother used to have this beautiful chili in a pot. It was in a big pot, and it was quite a big chili plant, and it was prolific every year. But one year they had this possum, and the possum would come and it just stripped, in 2 nights, it stripped that plant, absolutely stripped that plant bare of chilies. We have no idea how it could possibly eat all those chilies, but it did. We used to call him Buster the Possum. It was hilarious. It was an electric fry pan, one of the old Sunbeam metal ones with the big, nice high dome lid. 2 Fowler's lids, and I put the wood chips in the Fowler's lids, put those in the fry pan, turned it on, and it wasn't on very high. It was only on it was on medium high, about 160. Then I put a rack over the top of the smoky things, the lids with the smoking chips in, put the chicken on the rack, put the lid on, closed the vent, and left it. It was really easy. That's all you do. You don't need a huge fancy setup to smoke food. You do need to do it outside because it stinks. Absolutely. Yeah, easy. Poor Kathleen's. We don't know what Buster did with the chili. He just ate them. We never saw any. No, it was just absolutely just stripped the chili, the plant bare. It was just it worked. Look, fry pan smoker works really well. I'm pretty sure I've written about it. It'll be on the website somewhere. For years, that's all I used. But the high dome meant that I could put a decent piece of meat in it because I like to do pastrami. So I get the corned beef and soak it and then roll it in the mix and then smoke it. And it works really, really well. So you don't need a lot of fancy equipment to do most things, actually. You don't need a fancy dehydrator to dehydrate. If you've got an oven, you can dehydrate. If you've got sunshine, you can dehydrate. You don't need fancy things. You don't need a bread machine to make bread. You don't need a fancy pasta maker to make pasta. We've sort of been brainwashed into thinking that we have to have all these things. And while some of them do make life easier, a lot of them actually don't. Pat has a problem with squirrels. Our big apple tree is gorgeous. The apples are awful to eat. They're just so sour, but they're great for making crumbles and things, stewed apples and stuff. They're really good. But one year we had fruit bats just in one night came into the tree, and we could hear them. It was the middle of the night. We could hear them. We got up in the morning, and just about every single apple had been picked. It was heartbreaking. Jack the Slasher. That must be a Queensland store, Barb. $0.60, 400-gram Italian tomatoes at Coles. They're back at Coles. Woolworths have discontinued them. I have a video coming up about tin tomatoes. It was a bit of a pain to make because I actually went and bought a gazillion different tins of tomatoes of all different prices. And then we compared the actual tomato to juice ratio, which was doing my head in, to see which ones were actually better value. It was really interesting. It depends what you are smoking, Lynn. If I'm doing chicken fillets, I brine them for 24 hours. So I make a brine and I soak them in the brine for 24 hours, and I take them out of the brine, put them into the smoker. They're usually in the smoker for an hour to an hour and a half. Then they come back inside and they go into a stock pot to be boiled to finish off cooking, because the smoker I don't leave them in the smoker until they're cooked all the way through. I take the chicken out and finish it off in stock. It just adds depth of flavour to it that's really good. If I'm doing pastrami, it will depend on the cut of corned beef and how thick it is, and so I leave it until I use a meat thermometer, until the meat thermometer shows the internal temperature is cooked. Then I take it off, and if we're doing, I've only done pork into ham a couple of times because I don't like pork. We don't eat pork, so I've only done that a couple of times, and that was the same. I left it until the meat thermometer said it was cooked in the middle. So it depends on your piece of meat. Smoking is not a quick thing on its own. It does take a while. If you go to our website, the step-by-step instructions for pastrami are on our website, with the recipe for the seasoning for the rub mix. Islander, yes, Franco Cozzo is still alive. Very, very old, and he doesn't do his ads anymore, but he still is around. He recently retired last year or the year before, officially retired. But yes, he is still around. Homemade pastrami is so much better than what you can buy. Now, I just, okay. I don't use the fillet. You know, the pastrami is usually the little fillety piece. I just buy a slab of corned beef and cut it into the logs that I want it to be. So I sort of cheat a bit, but it is just as nice, really, and even better. And the seasoning mix, the spice mix, the rub, whatever you want to call it, reminds me of real pastrami, not the deli pastrami that you can get from like Coles or Woolies delis, although it doesn't have the right. It's really peppery. It's just delicious. So, okay, guys, I might finish. Oh, I didn't realize we were running so late. All right. I didn't realize it was quite so late. Sorry, guys. I didn't mean to keep you quite so long. Look, food security, our own personal food security is our responsibility. No one is going to feed us but us. You cannot say the government will feed us. The government will do something. You know, SES will come and give us a food box, or St. Vinny's will drop off something at our door. We cannot rely on someone else in a crisis. We need to rely on ourselves. So building our own personal food security is one way we become less reliant on the limitations that could be available. You know, people that lived through Cyclone Katrina in New Orleans, they waited for people to come. They waited for someone to help them, and nobody came because nobody could get to them. Not that they weren't coming, but they couldn't get to them. There were other reasons nobody came. So we need to prepare for ourselves. And look after ourselves. And we need to be responsible for our own food security. If you haven't started yet, it's not too late. Start now. But please, please, please do something, because we know what it's like to be hungry as adults. Hungry children are heartbreaking. And we live in Australia or the USA or Canada or New Zealand or the UK, and we've even got someone from France. So we live in quite wealthy countries where, honestly, starving, hungry children are not the norm. So we're not used to it. It will be heartbreaking. So be self-reliant and build your own food security. Okay, if you made it this far, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Now, remember, if you liked our show, thumbs up, please. The more thumbs up we get, the better it is. If you know someone who might like this show, there is a share link underneath them. If you haven't subscribed, please do. It helps. All these things help YouTube, but they help our channel too. And it means our channel's easier to find. And yes, we do have to put up with some trolls, but we try to deal with those. But when our channel's easy to find, it's easier to get the message out that it is perfectly okay to live life debt-free, cashed up and laughing, even in the craziness that is our world right now. So have a great week, everyone. Enjoy your cheapskating, and I will see you all back here at 7:30 next Tuesday. Stay safe, stay warm, build your pantries, and build your food security.